Hey friends, Amanda here at Bare Bones Living, and welcome back to What's Cookin' Wednesday. And today I'm going to stick with our ranch theme from last week, and I am going to be making a chicken bacon spaghetti squash. Super delicious, not terribly bad for you, and again, most people have these things on hand, and this is the time that you're seeing a lot of spaghetti squash in the stores, or these are called winter squash for a reason because they preserve really well and you can use them throughout the winter. So I did not grow up eating spaghetti squash, and I have never grown spaghetti squash, so I am still learning how to cook this, how to eat it, how to get my family to eat it, and when I made this recipe, it was an instant success. So I thought I would share it with you guys and bring you another meal. Today's recipe calls for 6 ingredients: bacon, chicken breasts, or you could use thighs too, but chicken, ranch seasoning, spaghetti squash, cream cheese, and cheddar cheese. So first thing is first, and we have to work with this spaghetti squash. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to pierce it 5 to 7 times or so around this spaghetti squash. Alright, so I put 5 punctures into here, and now I'm going to stick it in the microwave for 5 minutes. So what that did for me was just softened the spaghetti squash so that I can cut it in half. So it's still a harder squash, but it's easier to cut than had I not microwaved it. And there we go. We have it cut in half. And then I like to use a grapefruit spoon because it has these teeth along the edge, and that's what you use to get the fruit out of a grapefruit. But I love using this to get out the guts from any kind of a squash or pumpkin because it really grabs on to those fibrous membranes in there. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm just going to clean these out and scoop the seeds and guts into this bowl. Alright, now that I have these cleared out, I'm just going to flip them over, cut side down, and place them on a cookie sheet. And then I'm going to take these chicken breasts and I'm going to place them on the cookie sheet as well. And I'm going to be seasoning them with the ranch seasoning. So then, like I mentioned in my previous video, 2 tablespoons of this seasoning is equivalent to 1 packet. So I'm going to season these chicken breasts with about a teaspoon, 1 to 2 teaspoons of the seasoning. So if you were using the packet, you would just sprinkle a little bit of the seasoning onto your chicken, and then I'm going to put this into a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to get my bacon cooking, and the way that I like to make bacon is by cooking it in the oven, but since I am using my oven to cook the spaghetti squash and the chicken right now, I'm actually going to be using my toaster oven, which is actually my preferred method of making this, because I feel like it just, especially like in the summer and you don't want to heat up your entire house using the oven or something like that, I feel like the toaster oven doesn't put off or emit as much heat if you don't want to heat up your house. Also, it heats up faster, and also I'm cooking these at different temperatures, so I just think it works better. So I'm going to be cooking this bacon in the toaster oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and at 10 minutes I'm going to alternate the sheets from top to bottom, and then I also rotate the sheets back to front, because I do feel like the cooking element is a little more restrictive in a toaster oven, and so things don't necessarily cook evenly in a toaster oven. So that is how I kind of remedy that situation, and I feel like it evenly cooks fairly well if I swap the levels and then turn the pans. But it turns out perfect pretty much every time, as long as your top rack that you have it on isn't too close to your heating element. And it may also depend on your toaster oven. There was a little bit of a learning curve when we started using our toaster oven to make bacon, but I would much rather prefer cooking bacon in an oven than frying it in a pan on the stove, because in the pan on the stove, that's the only way I ever made bacon until this year. And it splatters everywhere, and it splashes on you, and I have young children, and it just makes a mess. But I hate, doing the bacon dance while you're trying to cook it on the stove and trying to get out of the way of all the pops and splatters of the grease. And this way does not splatter in your oven or your toaster oven, and you don't have to worry about scalding yourself, but you may have a little bit of a learning curve with your toaster oven. But I love cooking it in the toaster oven, 400 degrees, 20 minutes, flip them. Works great for me. In this bowl I have 4 ounces of cream cheese, and mine was frozen, so that's why it's a little clumpy. But I have 4 ounces of cream cheese and the rest of that ranch seasoning, so a tablespoon plus a teaspoon, because we use the other 2 teaspoons to season our chicken. And I just kind of mixed it together. Our chicken is cooked and cubed here, and then our squash is shredded here. And it ended up taking actually 45 minutes for the chicken and the squash to get fully cooked. So I shredded the squash, and I'm going to be adding it to this mixture, and it's still very hot. And then I'm going to add the chicken into there along with this. along with half of our cheese, which we're only using 2 ounces of cheese. So I'm putting in about 1 ounce of cheese into here. With some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to mix this up and put it back into our shells here. The warmth of the cooked chicken and cooked squash really helps to melt the cheeses together, and you can see that this is all incorporated and cheesy ranch goodness here. And then I'm just going to add that back into our shells here and top it with some yummy toppings. So here I have 4 slices of bacon diced up that I'm just going to sprinkle over the top here, along with the rest of the shredded cheddar. And then I'm going to put it back in the oven at 350 for 10 to 15 minutes. And we should be good. Alright. And this is how it all turned out. And it looks all nice and melty, cheesy, bacony goodness. And we'll just cut a little portion out of each one of these and put it in a bowl for our boys. And then Mike and I will just probably eat out of these squash shells. But we are ready to eat. Thank you guys for stopping by today and joining in on our journey here at Bare Bones Living. We'll catch you on the next one.